Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So this video I guess is a preview, prediction, and just my general thoughts on a fight that's coming up this weekend between Canelo Alvarez and Ryder. Of course this fight takes place at 168. Canelo is the undisputed champion in that weight class, and of course this fight will be a homecoming for Canelo Alvarez. First time he's fought in Mexico for, I guess, the best part of 10-12 years maybe, something like that, and he's fighting in his home state of Jalisco, so it's going to be a big crowd. And quite frankly, as for Ryder, I see this as mission impossible. I think his chances in this fight are slim to none, and Slim just took the last train out of town. I'm sure fans in Mexico are excited for this fight, you know, Canelo coming back, but overall, in regards to the international boxing community, I would say this is Canelo's least anticipated fight for quite some time. I'm not seeing any excitement on social media, nobody's really talking about it, and, you know, as I make this video, we are in fight week. So yeah, I mean, I think people view Ryder as I do. He's gonna go in there and he's got little to no chance. And quite frankly, I do question his ambition going into this fight. I think for Ryder, this is more about the payday than it is beating Canelo and essentially securing one of the biggest upset wins in British boxing history. I think Ryder is more concerned with the payday. This is his retirement check. He can sail off now after this fight and live happily ever after. That's the vibe, that's the energy in which I'm getting from Ryder, and he's been flirting with retirement for quite some time now. You know, he was talking about retiring before the Danny Jacobs fight, for example. He's flirted with it throughout the last 2 to 3 years. And yeah, I'm not convinced with his mentality going into this fight. I don't think the ambition is there from Ryder. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he proves me wrong on fight night and he really does come to fight. But I think the proof in the pudding will be after the fight. I guarantee Ryder retires because he's secured the bag. In his own words, he's also said that surrounding this fight. I don't really want to hear that. I don't really want to hear that you're going to be financially secure after this fight. I don't want to hear that this has been the payday that you've been chasing. Ryder's been very open about it, so again, I'm really not convinced by Ryder's ambition going into this fight. Also, you know, Canelo Alvarez to me in his last 2 to 3 fights hasn't looked all that great. I actually think now with Canelo, we are starting to see signs of physical slippage. You know, he's obviously had knee problems in his career. I think he picked up a wrist injury in the fight with Golovkin, the third fight. So it seems Canelo's body is starting to break down. As he's gone up in weight classes, his punch output has dropped quite drastically. I think we're now seeing the downward slide of Canelo Alvarez. I don't think he's the fighter he was when he fought Golovkin in their second fight at middleweight. To me, that was the best Canelo that we've seen. But honestly, in the last couple of years, I haven't really been super impressed with Canelo. He looks beatable now. Even against the 40-year-old Golovkin, I really wasn't impressed. I really wasn't impressed. To me, Golovkin was there to be beat up on. Canelo never did it. The Bivol fight was what it was. He got soundly outboxed. And even in the Caleb Plant fight, Canelo had a lot of trouble in the first half of that fight. Lost several rounds due to the movement of Caleb Plant. So again, you know, I think Canelo now is starting to slide ever so slightly. You know, just due to the combination of advancing in age, picking up injuries, but most importantly, going up in weights. I do think Canelo is on the slide. And when I say on the slide, I don't mean he's shot. He's just not as good as he was, in my opinion. But having said that, despite that, I don't think Ryder has the style to necessarily take advantage of it, to be honest. John Ryder doesn't really have a physical edge on Canelo. They are of similar stature, stocky 168-pounders. It's not like John Ryder has any glaring physical advantages. He's not got a crazy reach advantage or height advantage. He certainly doesn't have his hand speed advantage. The only advantage he may have is foot speed. Maybe foot speed, he's got that, but aside from that, I don't think John Ryder has any physical advantages over Canelo. And the reason I state that as important is because he's certainly not as skilled as Canelo, in my opinion. He's not as powerful as Canelo. He doesn't have a punch technique of Canelo, you know. So I really think John Ryder's going to struggle to win this fight. I mean, when you look at it, how does John Ryder win this fight? Does he try to set a high work rate? Does he try to make himself cagey behind that southpaw stance and try and be really awkward? I don't think that's going to work in Mexico. If John Ryder wants to win this fight, I don't think that's going to work. I would say John Ryder has to take this fight and be aggressive. I know that sounds crazy against Canelo, a guy who's got good counters. He can really pick you apart at mid-range. He's got great combinations. He's pretty handy on the inside as well. But I think John Ryder needs to make this a high-output fight. Again, that is one thing in which Canelo, doesn't exactly excel in, is his punch output. So, for me, John Ryder should be approaching this as to how Maidana approached the first Floyd fight. If you go back and watch that fight and watch the build-up, that was basically Maidana's game plan and Robert Garcia's game plan. We need to throw more punches than Floyd for 12 rounds. They trained for punch output. And honestly, I think John Ryder needs to do something similar. Not fight in the same style, because Ryder is technically better than Maidana, but, just maintain a high work rate, aggressive. I would probably say to John Ryder, try to collapse the pocket and stick on Canelo's chest. Really, really smother him. One good thing about John Ryder, as opposed to many British fighters, he's actually a really solid inside fighter. He usually applies good head control or good head positioning. He gets himself in a position where he can create the angle for him to punch, while also minimising the risk of him getting caught on the inside. And he's a pretty good punch picker on the inside in general. He's got a good right hook to the body on the inside. He can pick those uppercuts through the middle, right hook to the head. Sometimes he'll sidestep and then throw the left hook to the body. Ryder has a good punch arsenal on the inside. I think that's where he needs to take this fight. Stick to Canelo. Stick to him like glue. Try to smother him, because I can't see John Ryder outboxing Canelo, being awkward and being cagey on the outside. Cannot see that. Cannot see that in a month of Sundays. I really can't. John Ryder needs to really go in there with a ballsy game plan. Needs to go in there aggressive. Needs to fight this fight on the inside, in my opinion. I know Canelo is good at creating space on the inside. And obviously, in those moments, he can pick you off, he can pick you apart. But one thing I will say with Canelo, in the actual clinch, he's not necessarily great at working his free hands. John Ryder is. That's one thing John Ryder does very well. He's really good at utilising his free hand in the clinch. And he needs to be doing that in this fight. Needs to be sticking to Canelo. And he needs to risk it. He needs to go in there again with a ballsy game plan, with an aggressive game plan. He needs to let it all hang out. Do I think he'll do that? Not really. Personally, not really. But yeah, I mean, the fight is what it is. I just hope John Ryder goes in there and actually comes to fight. That's all I'm hoping for. Even if he does, by the way, I'm fully expecting him to lose. And probably get stopped late, I would say. I think Canelo would have to tenderize him first. I don't think John Ryder's going away the first time he gets caught. He's a tough guy, John Ryder, so he'll take some shots, but I see John Ryder getting stopped towards the back end of his fight. Maybe like rounds 8, 9, 10, something like that. Ultimately, I just hope he makes it a show. That's what I'm hoping for. So yeah, I guess my prediction would be Canelo by stoppage in rounds 8, 9 or 10. That would be my guess. But anyway, share your thoughts below. Do you give John Ryder any chance whatsoever in this fight? Or like me, do you fully expect Canelo to win this fight handily? Share your thoughts below. Beanie Guy Delboy. Peace.